Jnananjana-shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Nectar of Instruction Friday and Saturday Bhakti Shastri series. We have discussed text 1 quite elaborately and quite detailed. Now we will be beginning with text 2 from today. Text 2 is a very important verse for devotees, and we will be going quite in detail of text 2 also, because text 2 mentions what are the 6 items which are unfavorable for devotion, which actually can destroy our devotion. So what are the don'ts in one sense are mentioned in text 2. So we will first recite text 2, and then we will go into the overview of text 2 and some important concepts which are related to especially the term Aktihar. So we will discuss that, and then we will go actually into Srila Prabhupada's commentary on text 2. So let us recite text 2. All of you can recite. Aktihar prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyam cha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. Shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Prabhupada has used the word spoiled here, and vinashyati in a general sense, if you see, it means it is destroyed also. So Prabhupada also uses that term, that it is destroyed. Once devotional service is completely destroyed, if one is too entangled in these 6 activities. What are the 6? Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Aktihar. So what does the term Aktihar mean? We will go more in detail, but this is what Srila Prabhupada in his translation gives. Accumulating more than necessary, either accumulating for filling the belly or accumulating in the form of external things. So many, it has a very broad understanding of what this Aktihar is. Over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, that is called as prayas. Prayas means also endeavors which are opposed to bhakti. Bhakti prayas we should do, but some things which are opposed to bhakti, endeavoring for material things, too much endeavor for material things, that can spoil our devotion also or destroy our devotion, prayas. Then talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, prajalpa. So talking about Krishna or Krishna Katha is not prajalpa, but about mundane subject matters, it is prajalpa. Then niyamagraha, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. So just following the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law, as we say. So this is one meaning of niyam agraha. Then another meaning is rejecting the rules and regulations of scriptures and working independently or whimsically. So niyamagraha can mean also failure to adopt essential regulations which are meant for advancement, or it can mean fanatical adherence to also regulations. So that is niyamagra. We will go going quite in detail in niyamagra when we study the Anuvritti commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. What exactly is the concept of niyamagra? Then association with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, jana sangha, and being greedy for mundane achievements, laulyam, too much greed to attain the things of this world. So these are the 6 things which spoil or destroy our devotion. This is mentioned in text 2. Now let us come to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's analysis of Updesh Amrit. Updesh Amrit. So text 2 to text 4, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions Madhyam Adhikari Goswami's external dealings and bhakti rules. This is the theme in text 2 to text 4. This is the theme. So now text 2 deals with Bhakti Pratikul Shadgun. What are the 6 qualities which are unfavorable for devotion? In text 3, we'll see Bhakti Anukul Shadgun. So these are the external rules or the bhakti rules which a Madhyam Adhikari Goswami does in his external dealings. And first is the don'ts, and then the do's, and then the 6 loving exchanges. So first the don'ts, Rup Goswami is mentioning in his text 2 of Updeshamrit, beginning with Aktihar. Now, in one of the beautiful poems in Sharnagati, Bhajan Lalsa, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying, O he Vaishnava Thakur, Doyara Sagar, he dase karuna kori, diya pada chaya, shodoe amaya, tomara charana dhori. O Reverend Vaishnava Thakur, O hey Vaishnava Thakur, ocean of mercy, Doyara Sagar, E dase karuna kori. Please be merciful to me, your humble servant. Diya pada chaya shodo e amaya. Purify me by giving the shade of your lotus feet. Tomara charana dhari. Your feet I clasp submissively. So, one of the most important limbs when one takes up to sadhana bhakti is Ado Guru Pad Ashraya. This is the first limb of sadhana bhakti Rupa Goswami mentions in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So we should practice bhakti under the shelter of the spiritual master. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying here to that Vaishnava Thakur, who is the ocean of mercy, Dayara Sagar, Karuna Sagar he is. And give me the shade of your lotus feet and purify me. And I'm holding on to your lotus feet. So what is his prayer? Chaya vego domi, chaya dosha shodhi, chaya guna deho dase, chaya sata sanga deho e amare, bhoshiche shangera ashe. So what is the disciple playing to the spiritual master? Please help me to control the 6 urges. Chaya vega domi. So this is what we dealt in text 1. And Chaya dosha shodhi, purify me of the 6 faults. So now my question is, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur is speaking about purify me from the 6 faults, what is Bhaktivinoda Thakur referring to? Who would like to answer? Can raise their hands. Chaya dosha shodhi. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying Chaya dosha shodhi, what is he referring to? Who would like to answer? Can raise your hands. What is Chaya dosha shodhi? Purify me of the 6 faults. Anyone would like to try to answer? Can raise their hands. Who would like to answer? There is one. Yes, Mataji. Lata Mataji.
Prabhu, is it Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya?
No. Anyone else? Pavanabal Govind Prabhuji. Yes, I have unmuted you.
Hare Krishna, Dhanot Pranam Prabhu. I think he is talking about this second sloka, 6 items only.
Yes.
Aktihar Prayasas, I think he is referring to the same nectar of instructions sloka.
Yes. So Nitya Sevini Mataji also has typed 6 faults. These are the 6 faults. And these 6 faults are very deeply embedded. They are like constitutional faults, we can say. When the conditioned soul comes in this material world, these 6 faults are there. And one, if he wants to advance in pure devotion, first he has to eliminate these 6 faults. So that is why right in text 2, Rupa Goswami is mentioning these 6 faults, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying, purify me of the 6 faults. So these are the 6 faults, Chaya dosha shodhi. And please instill in your servant the 6 qualities, Chaya guna deho dase. So the 6 good qualities are in text 3 of Updeshamrit. That is Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairyat, because by that we can attain pure devotion. And Choyo Shota Shanga Deho E Amar. Oh, bestow upon me the 6 kinds of holy association. This refers to text 4. Dadati Pratigranati Guya Makyati Prichati Bhungte Bhojate Chaiva Shad Vidir Pliti Lakshanam. Boshiche Shangara Asha. I am seated here in the hope of having your company. Further he says, Eka ki amar nahi paye bhol harinama sankirtane. Tumi kripa kori shraddha bindu diya deho Krishna namadane. On my own, I find no strength to chant the holy name of Lord Hari. Ekaki Amar Nahi Palebal Hari Nama Sankirtan. Please be merciful by awarding me with the particle of faith, Shraddha Bindu Diya Kripa Kori, and giving and particle of faith and giving me the great treasure of the holy name. Deo Krishna Nama Dane. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati ache. Ami to kangal, Krishna Krishna boli, dhai tava pache pache. Krishna is yours. Krishna is completely under the control of his pure devotee. In fact, the pure devotee can sell Krishna wherever he wants. Krishna is completely surrendered to that pure devotee. He can do whatever he wants. So that's why Krishna say Tomar, Krishna dete paro. Therefore, you are able to give him to others. Tomara shakati ache. This is certainly within your power. And whom will that spiritual master also give Krishna? One who has developed this pure humility. Ami to kangal. I am indeed wretched and fallen. Simply running after you, crying Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna boli, dhai tava pache pache. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for many of the verses of Shikshashram, Upadesh Amrit, and his own commentary on Upadesh Amrit, he has composed such songs which are called as Upadesh Amrit Bhasha, Bhasha Tika. Bhasha means, in the form of song, he has sung the meaning of these verses, which are very simple also for us to understand the verses. So here is one song which is speaking about how these 4 verses are very, very important in the beginning stages of our spiritual life. These 4 verses of Updeshamrit are dealt in this second stanza of this Bhajan Lalsa song. Now let us come to the most important concept of Aktihar. Aktihar is the root, fault in the conditioned soul. So what is Aktihar? Let us try to understand this. What is the concept of Aktihar? This is again from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's teachings. In Bhaktiyaloka, he has quite elaborately explained. I'm just taking few important points from there just to explain Aktihar. What is the meaning of this philosophical term Aktihar? So Aktihar, when we break, it is a compound word. When we break it, it becomes Ati Ahar. When it is joined by Sanskrit rules, Ati Ahar becomes Atyahar. And its general meaning is overeating or too much collecting, which also Prabhupada writes in his word-to-word meaning. Many think it refers to overeating. But already, Rupa Goswami in text 1 has spoken, Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam, jivva vegam udarapasta vegam, etan veganyo visheheta dhira, sarvam api mam prithvim sashishya. So in text 1, Rupa Goswami already has spoken about jivva vegam and udara vegam. Not to overeat or overfill the belly. So here, urge of the tongue is what? The jiva vegam is desire to taste foodstuffs. Different varieties of taste we want to, we have the desire. And the urge of the stomach is desire to overeat or overfill the belly. So already Rupa Goswami in text 1 has already dealt with overeating. So why would Rupa Goswami, who is such a grave acharya, again present the same principle what he has mentioned in text 1, again in text 2? Updeshamrit is just 11 verses. Just in 11 verses, essential verses, he has completely given the beginning stages of bhakti to the highest stages of prema bhakti. So within 11 verses, why would he repeat something? It would be redundant, as we say in technical terms. So Aktihar term might be redundant, Rupa Goswami. Why has he used again? Why has he referred to Aktihar as overeating? So many might think Aktihar means overeating. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur reveals that Aktihar, the principal meaning is eating or overeating. But ahar means also to enjoy the senses. So the deeper meaning of ahar is here. We give ahar to the senses. As in Bhagavad Gita 2.59 it is said, Vishaya vinivartante nirraharasya dehina raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Vishaya vinivartante. I'm just taking the text 2.59 so that we get a clear understanding. Vishaya vinivartante. Vishaya means sense objects. Vinivartante means completely he has given up. He has refrained. Nirahar. He doesn't give the ahar to the senses. The senses go to the sense objects. Dehina, conditioned soul, the embodied soul. Rasa varjam. He doesn't give them rasa. But rasopyasya. He gives the mind a superior rasa in the form of the mind which is gone inwards to meditate on the Paramatma. Param drishtva nivartate. A superior vision. So the mind, in conjunction with the senses, enjoys ahar in the form of eyes for beautiful forms, in the tongue for taste, the ears for sound, the nose for smell. So the yogi withdraws the senses from the sense objects by the process of pratyahar. Pratyahar means no giving ahar, negating the ahar of the senses for the sense objects. And he goes inwards and he tries to fix the mind internally in meditating on the Paramatma. Param drishtva nivartate. For the devotees, instead of the yogis who go inwards in meditation, we can do open-eyed meditation in the form of having darshan of the beautiful deities. So Prabhupada in his purport, he mentions that one who has tasted the beauty of Krishna, yes, one who has tasted the beauty of the Krishna, Supreme Lord Krishna, in the course of advancement in his Krishna consciousness, has no longer taste for dead material things. So Prabhupada is speaking about one who has actually had the beautiful darshan of Krishna. So this refers to a very elevated platform also. In the sadhaka stage, we should always expose ourselves to having darshan of Krishna by having pictures of Krishna at home, regularly taking darshan of Krishnas, by which the ahar of the eyes which have attraction for material beauty can be subsided. So this is the meaning of ahar, ahar for the senses. So that is the grave meaning what Bhaktivinoda Thakur reveals, that this is what ahar Rupa Goswami is referring. So what is the ahar for the senses? Form by the eyes, we enjoy, sound by the ears, smell by the nose, taste by the tongue, and touch by the skin. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, in some of his other books, mentions how to spiritualize the ahar of the senses. So, in the beginning stages of bhakti, the material affinity or the material attraction is very strong and the bhakti attraction is very small, because we are just in the stage of Shraddha Sadhu Sangha and started our bhajan kriya. So the material attraction is very strong. So that is why sadhakas have been right in text to explained how these constitutional faults in the form of Aktihar are so injurious for our development of devotion. So one should right in the beginning take care of it. So how we should spiritualize our senses, what we should do, we should give spiritual sense objects to them. So for the eyes, we should have darshan of the deities, the temples, the scriptures, the holy places, the spiritual dramas, and the spiritual festivals. By this, the eyes get purified. The ears, scriptures, hearing, spiritual songs, lectures, and conversations. It is conversations. Conversations. And then for the nose, fragrance of tulsi, which is offered to the Lord. The 4 Kumaras, just by smelling the fragrance, immediately they became purified and became pure devotees. They were already self-realized souls. Tasya Arvinda Nayanasya Padarvinda. That beautiful verse is there in the 3rd canto. Smelling the flowers, sorrow, gandha, sandalwood paste, fragrant items that are offered to the Lord. That's how we purify the nose. The tongue, by kirtan and prasad. The touch, the sense of touch, the air of holy places, the pure water, taking bath in Ganga and Yamuna, touching the body of a Vaishnava, soft bed offered to the Lord, association of chaste woman for propagation of God-centered family. So this is for touch. The times also Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions. Apart from this, Ekadasi and festivals. These are the times which we can purify. And the places are Vrindavan, Navadip, Puri, and Naimisharanya. So this is how we spiritualize these ahar. That is what is ati ahar, not giving too much ahar to the senses. And how to counteract it? Give ahar in the form of spiritual sense objects. Now, let us come to what is the root cause of Aktihar. Now, the soul, now here when I say the soul, I mean the heart. The heart is having pure attraction to Krishna in the spiritual world. The soul has pure attraction. This is called as rati, or the stage of bhava it is called. Rati means attraction. So that attraction is just towards Krishna. But when that soul comes in the material world, that same attraction towards Krishna, I don't know, some reason, yeah. That same attraction towards Krishna is misdirected in the form of attraction to the things of this world. So now the heart is empty. The heart is not possessing Krishna, and there is no raga. Raga means attraction, or rati for Krishna, but there is rag towards the things of this world. So the emptiness of the heart is misdirected by over collecting or filling the house with so many things. Sometimes people have fancy for collecting stamps, collecting coins, so much crazy things, they have love for, in one sense. They have love for collecting coins, collecting stamps. I met one industrialist, and one day he took me to his house and he showed me his room where he had a collection of shoes. Around 500 shoes were there in his shoe rack. Crazy, So that emptiness of the heart, which is now misdirected in this material world, it is directed in possessing things. That is over collecting. Now, over collecting can also mean filling the belly by overeating or collecting food or grains. So we spoke about Jivva Vegam and Udara Vegam. But what is Aktihar now in this sense? Aktihar here means after you have nicely satisfied the tongue without any Jivva Vegam, you have overfilled your belly, there is no more place, but still the heart, ye dil mange more, you want to have it. It's so tasty, but what to do? There is no place in my stomach. So then what do you do when this is the situation? What do you do? I would like to ask the audience, what do you do in this situation? You can raise your hand. It's common sense. Everyone knows what you will do, but I would like to hear. Yes, you will store it. Today there is big feast. There is a lot of varieties of items. My stomach is full. Now I desire that I will eat it in the evening or tomorrow morning. So what I will do, I will collect it and keep it. So this is what is called as Aktihar. This is Aktihar here. This is the deeper meaning of Aktihar. Over collecting means not only filling the belly, which is Udara Vegam, but collecting for eating, the next day or in the evening. This is what is Aktihar, filling the belly. Then that emptiness of the heart is also misdirected, not by filling the belly or filling the house, but filling the head with many, many degrees. Sometimes people do PhDs. I know a person who has done PhD 13 times. He has got PhD in 13 different subjects. But although when you see him, you don't feel that he's an enlightened person. He looks very miserable. So this is the root cause. This is a constitutional fault. And the Jiva by constitution has love for Krishna. And how he exercises it? Mahatmanastu mam partha dhaivim prakritim ashrita bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavrata namashyante tu mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. So the Jiva in his pure constitution is under the shelter of the internal potency. And bhajanti ananya manaso, with unalloyed, undeviated, he's practicing pure devotion. And satatam, continuously kirtayanto mam, and with great determination, offering obeisances, nitya yukta, he's always connected to me. So his natural constitution is that he has love for Krishna in the heart, and his love is manifested in uninterrupted, unalloyed, pure devotion to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Ahetuki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So this is the constitution of the Jiva in its spiritual nature. But the same Jiva, when he comes in this material world, now that love has turned into envy in order to become controller and enjoyer in this world. And he wants to possess. Now he doesn't possess Krishna in his heart. And that's why he wants to possess the things of this world. That is how Aktihara is a constitutional fault. And that is why it has to be rectified right in the beginning. I will take questions once I finish this whole discussion, because this is a very important concept. I will take up questions immediately. So, just like water in its natural constitution is liquid, that is the natural state of water. That is like the Jiva in the spiritual world, having pure, unalloyed devotion to Krishna. But the same water in the artificial condition, when it is kept in a refrigerator, its constitution changes. It's in a condition, in a certain conditions, it becomes very hard, brittle, and it is not easy to touch because it's cold. So similarly, the jiva in its pure spiritual constitution has pure love for Krishna. But when it comes in this material world, it gets conditioned by material nature. And now his conditional state is that love what he possesses for Krishna, he has now love for things of this world in the form of over collection or overeating or overfilling with degrees. So this is Aktihar. This is the concept of Aktihar. This is the root cause of Aktihar. There is a beautiful story in the life of Sanatana Goswami. Once a sincere devotee of Lord Shiva was worshipping Shiva, and Shiva wanted to bestow him pure devotion. So in the dream, Lord Shiva told this personality, that this person, that you go and meet Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan. He has got a chintamani, and it will fulfill all your desires. Go and meet Sanatana Goswami. So immediately after seeing this dream of Lord Shiva directly instructing, immediately he went to Vrindavan and found out where Sanatana Goswami is. And he said, "Oh Gosai, Lord Shiva has sent me and he has told me that you have a chintamani. So please give me." Sanatana Goswami was absorbed in chanting, and he came to external consciousness and he said, "Oh, there it is lying in the dustbin there. Please take it and go." So he had a chintamani stone by which anything you touch, it will turn into gold. Iron will turn into gold. So this, he was a businessman, in fact. So he picked up the gem and he was going from Vrindavan away back to his hometown. Maybe he was from Banaras, I think. It struck him that why has Sanatana Goswami kept such a valuable gem, Chintamani, in such a filthy place in his bhajan kutir? There must be something superior he must be possessing. So somehow he came back. And he came back and asked, "Oh Gosai, you possess something which is still more superior than this Chintamani. Please give me that." So by this time, he had the association of Sanatana Goswami and he was a little bit purified. So Sanatana Goswami had instilled faith in him and he told, "First you throw this gem, Chintamani, in the Yamuna and come back." So this businessman, somehow with a heavy heart, he went near the Yamuna and holding his heart, somehow with a lot of courage, he threw the Chintamani stone and came back to the bhajan kutir of Sanatana Goswami. And then Sanatana Goswami gave him the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And because now he had developed faith, he understood that this is the real spiritual Chintamani. That is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a book called as Sri Harinama Chintamani. So Srila Prabhupada in his purport to 1:8, I think 21 or 22, Namo Akinchana Vittaya Nivritta Guna Vrittaye Atma Rama Shantaya Kaivalyapate Namaha. So that purport, Prabhupada mentions that Sanatana Goswami never considered that gem, that it belongs to him, never considered him that as his possession, because he possessed Krishna in his heart. So those who possess Krishna in their heart, they are free from all possessions of this world, anything in this world. They don't think that nothing in this world belongs to them. These are the advanced pure devotees. But those who don't possess Krishna in their heart, they possess so many things of this world. That is why sadhakas having this disease, and right in the second text of Updeshamrit, Rup Goswami is mentioning how one should become free from this constitutional fault of Aktihar. Now, another important concept is there, and then I will take questions and answers about Aktihar. conditional rule and constitutional rule. The instructions to tolerate the urges of the tongue and belly is mentioned in the first verse. The materialist easily become greedy to enjoy finest taste, and being afflicted by hunger, they become extremely agitated and enthusiastic to eat the available foodstuffs. This is a material urge. Whenever this type of urge will arise, it should be controlled by cultivation of devotional service. This is Jivva Vegam. So whenever there is very fine food, immediately our Jivva Vegam, attacks us. At certain conditions, they attack us. It's not all 24 hours, we are afflicted by Jivva Vegam or the Udara Vegam. The injunction to reject Aktihar mentioned in the second verse is a constitutional rule for the practitioner. The injunction of the first verse is conditional, and the injunction of the second is constitutional. So what is Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying here is the first verse of Upadeshamrit, where the Vegas, as we were discussing, these Vegas come with like a force and immediately tell, please fulfill my desire. This is an urgent desire, please fulfill it. So whenever such Vegas arise, that time we should control. It is not that 24 hours these Vegas are always attacking us. No, under certain conditions, when we come in association with two people, immediately the Vacho Vega, becomes very prominent. At that time, we should be sober and speak what is only essential and not get into prajalpa or not get into talking like toading of a frog. We should not do that. So that time, whenever somebody criticizes us, immediately there is anger in the mind. And that time, we should control the urge of the mind. It's not that 24 hours, we are in an angry mood, and we are told to control this urge of anger. No. Whenever under certain conditions, there are certain conditions, and that is why it is called as a conditional rule. But beginning from text 2, especially Aktihar, Prayasa, Prajalpa, Niyamagra, Janasangasya, Laulyam, these are called as constitutional faults. The Jiva, pure constitution is love for Krishna, but now in the material world, its constitution has transformed, just like the water has become ice now. So we have to always be on guard not to fall prey to Aktihar or Prayas or Prajalpa or Niyamagra or Janasanga and Laulyam. So the text too are constitutional faults, and this injunction is constitutional. That is, means all the times we should practice it. All the times it can afflict us because we are now in the conditioned state of material existence. When we are in the material energy, when we go back in the spiritual energy, then that time these six faults we are completely eliminated them. So that time they will not trouble us. So that is the meaning of conditional fault and constitutional fault. Okay, so this is about Aktihar I had to say. Now, if you have any questions regarding Aktihar, you can ask now. There is one by Sheetal Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Why is this Sheetal here?
Sheetal Kumar.
Oh, Sheetal Kumar. Okay. Sorry, please forgive me.
No problem, no problem. Prabhuji, one thing I would like to ask is that after the program, we have the prasad, and after the program, there is a lot of prasad left. So some Prabhuji advises to take the parcel so they not be wasted. So it is an Atyahara?
Better to distribute it. When I mean Atyahara, it means that I have liked something in the feast today, and I have a taste, my tongue is desiring that I want to still have it more, and there is no space in the belly. And that is why, out of greed, in order to have it later on, I take it. That is what will constitute Aktihar. I hope it is clear to you.
Yes, Guru.
Okay.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Any other questions regarding this very important concept of Aktihar? This is to be very clearly understood because it is something at the root level. And unless and until this is taken care, it is very difficult to advance in devotional life. Okay. Nitya Sevini Mataji has a question. 1 minute. Okay. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, you said many degrees, that is filling the head, is also one of the root cause of Atyahara. How
Yeah.
come getting the knowledge or many degrees is considered as the root cause of Atyahara?
Yes, this is a good question, and I will just share the screen once again. Yeah. Here, there are few things you have to understand. There is the misdirection of the heart. There is emptiness of the heart which is felt. Now here heart I am referring to the soul. And now, because this soul doesn't possess Krishna, in the material world, it wants to possess gross things. Gross things means, I told you, over collecting, over filling the house with so many things. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, we all know that he comes from a very wealthy family. His father is a attorney, a very big lawyer in America. And we all know how when he met Prabhupada, he gave a blank check so that he can return his son back. He was coming from a very, very royal, rich family. And in his book, I think, or somewhere in his realizations, he says that before coming to Krishna consciousness, when his sister and the father and mother was serving breakfast in the table, in the dining table, his sister was very much disturbed while having the breakfast. And she was asking the father, I want to buy another dress. And the father was telling that you have a wardrobe where there are 300 dresses. So there are 365 days and she had 300 dresses, but yet she wanted another dress. And the father said no. She was devastated and she left and went away crying. So Giriraj Maharaj was explaining his realization that although she has so much dresses she possesses, but still the heart is hankering for so much. So like that, the heart is hankering for possessing the things of this world in the form of possessing in the belly. Some people, when they eat a lot of food, they feel happiness in the heart. Oh, I'm feeling happy. For them, happiness means filling the belly. Some people, by possessing people have craze for shopping. I don't know. Even if they are not required, they go and buy. They just want to fill the house with things. Unnecessary things they keep on dumping and shopping and shopping and shopping. And when they see that the house is filled with so many things, they feel happy. The happiness of the heart is experienced by filling things. Similarly, at a subtle level, we want to fill our head. We want to fill our head with so many degrees so that we can experience some happiness in the heart. But real happiness of the heart is only in pure devotion. Yenatma suprasidati. So when I speak about over collecting, filling the house, it is, filling external things in where you're staying and where you're surrounded. When I feel filling the belly, filling is your stomach. Within your body, you fill your stomach. And this misdirection can be filling your head also, filling your head with so many degrees. So that's how it is also Aktihar. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. There is one more question by Mohan Shama Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I understand this Aktihar is talking about the material accumulation also, right? Like the financial accumulation or a saving for the future, all these things, correct?
Yes.
But definitely, like, the financial aspect has to be planned. Like, we cannot be earning always around the year, around the ages, we cannot earn it. So we need to keep some portion for the retirement life or for the future children's education or futures, all these things. So is there any formula which we should adopt it, or how we can consider whether it is Atyagara or whether we are doing it for our need? Is there any how to understand this? What are the basics?
Yeah. See, when it comes to financial planning for the family, yes, definitely it has to be done. For the children's education, for their marriage, and for maintaining the family. But ultimately, Krishna is the center. It is Krishna's family. We have to look after them nicely. But when we come to prayas, that time we'll come to know how to discriminate this. If our endeavor to acquire a lot of financial assets becomes the motive, and we start endeavoring more in that direction, and our bhakti, what happens? It diminishes. Because we are endeavoring a lot to take care of all the financial things, we don't have time for practicing devotional service. Then that becomes a hindrance to devotion. Then our bhakti can get spoiled. So there has to be a balance struck between our endeavors for finances for the maintaining our Krishna conscious family and our spiritual life. This is first aspect to be understood. The second aspect is that whether our endeavor is for material goals or spiritual goals within the ambit of Krishna consciousness. Whether it is in the material goals or it is within the spiritual ambit of Krishna conscious goals. So this is what we'll have to see when especially financial things have to be taken care of. Definitely there should be proper planning done, and long-term planning should be done with the assistance of devotees who are expert in those fields, so that we also don't have too much anxieties about the future, and we can at the present practice bhakti steadily. Is it clear? Okay, Prabhuji? I hope it is clear, Prabhuji. Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. So not at the cost of bhakti. So this
Yes,
not at the cost of
you can come to know. You will come to know that if my endeavors are too much, then is it affecting my bhakti, and then you'll have to balance it out. I'll give you a very practical example which I myself experienced. One of the devotees who was in another temple, who was more into fundraising, had joined our temple here. And somehow he was not given the fundraising project, but on his own, he had taken up a fundraising project for a small endeavor, of course, for the temple. On his own, he had taken. And for this, he had to do some fundraising. And he was so much endeavoring for the fundraising that one afternoon I was taking a nap, rest. So he came inside the room along with his bead bag, and he just kept his bead bag. And he just said, "Why did I take up this project? I'm just not able to chant my rounds." So this statement, when I heard, then I could understand, oh, too much endeavor, So even in spiritual projects, sometimes if there is too much endeavor which hampers our spiritual practices, we'll have to be careful and we'll have to strike a balance. So that is how we will come to now when we discuss the purport, how Aktihar leads to Prayas, how Aktihar leads to Prajalpa. All are progressive. Aktihar will lead to Prayas, and then further it will lead to Prajalpa. And Prajalpa also further Aktihar will lead to Niyamagra. You will not follow the rules and regulations. And then you'll associate with worldly people. And then you'll have too much greed. So Aktihar can lead to all this progressively and individually also. So that's why Aktihar is a constitutional fault and it has to be taken care at the root. Any other questions regarding Aktihar? The concept of Aktihar has to be clearly understood. Any questions, any clarifications? Has everyone understood the concept of Aktihar? If you have understood, you can type in the chat box. Yeah, okay. So then now, if we have discussed this concept of Aktihar, now we'll go to the purport. Now, Srila Prabhupada's purport, these are the themes. Prabhupada first in paragraphs 1 to 5 speaks about simple living and high thinking and 6 faults. Then, as I was explaining, that Aktihar leads to Prayas, further it leads to Prajalpa, Janasanga, and then Niyamagra, Janasanga, and then ultimately Laulyam. But Aktihar can directly lead to Laulyam also, Aktihar can lead to Prayas also, Aktihar can lead to Prajalpa also, Aktihar can lead to Janasanga also, Aktihar can also directly lead to Niyamagra. So Aktihar can lead to all these other 5 progressively or individually also. So Prabhupada in paragraph 6 to 7 speaks how Aktihar is connected with Laulyam. 8 to 13, Prabhupada speaks about how Aktihar and Prayas are connected, how Aktihar leads to Prayas. Then paragraph 14, he speaks about Prajalpa. Paragraph 15, Prabhupada speaks about Janasanga. And then there is the Anuvritti explanation of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur from paragraph 16 to 24. In the Anuvritti explanation, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains about what is Aktihar and what is different kinds of Janasanga. And especially, Prabhupada doesn't explain Niyamagra in his purport, but he explains that from the Anuvritti explanation. So that time we will see what is Niyamagra. And then there is the conclusion in paragraph 25 and 26. So this is the various themes which are there in the purport. So today we will discuss this first theme, simple living and high thinking and the 6 faults. Now, let us go to the purport. Now, if you see the purport, Srila Prabhupada begins very abruptly discussing that in the first paragraph he discusses human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Now again, as we had seen in text 1, Prabhupada directly, after the verses speaking about 6 Vedas, Prabhupada directly, abruptly begins by saying, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj asked a number of intelligent questions. What connection is this Bhagavatam discussion have with the 6 Vedas? Similarly, what is the connection of this human life, which is meant for plain living and high thinking, to do with these 6 faults? What is the connection? Why is Prabhupada discussing about simple living and high thinking? What has that to do with this Aktihar? Anyone would like to try and answer? It is a little difficult, but giving a try is always worth it. Yes, Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji.
No, this is the basic, Prabhu. Like, if we follow this principle, then there will not be any chance of Aktihar at all. Simple living, I think. If we follow this.
Yes, yes, yes. Very much, very much. That's the right answer. Yes. Sri Valli Ratna Mataji has to say something. Yes, Mataji.
Does it mean that to understand what exactly is important in life? Because simple living and high thinking, it's like normal things you can have 101 good thing you can have to have a higher rasa, which will actually simplify your life also by putting things into perspective.
Yeah, there is formula of life, many things are mentioned. But let us see what Prabhupada has to say. In summary, what Mohan Rup Sham Prabhu said is true. But there is a deeper philosophical understanding also. I will go to that. So human life is meant for plain living and high thinking, Prabhupada is saying. This statement is a very profound statement. Sometimes it is said that human life is meant for simple living and high thinking. And His Holiness Shivram Swami Maharaj, in his book on Nava Vrindavan, he mentions what is simple living and high thinking. He says simple living means simply living to love Krishna. And high thinking, he says, means to have Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vedanta courses. That is high thinking, studying Vedic literatures. So that is simple living and high thinking. So Prabhupada wanted devotees to live in an agrarian setup. He did not want Varnashram to be established. Varnashram in its original form cannot be established in Kali Yuga. But he wanted what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had conceived, the Daivi Varnashram, where life is simple, all the economic necessities are taken by the land, and we have time to chant Hare Krishna, and we have time to hear discourses. So, if you see the Bhakti Vedanta Eco Village in Govardhan Vada, you can see that the devotees are staying in the, a simple village setup, although they have a lot of facilities because there is a retreat center. But that setup is there where you can naturally and spontaneously think about Krishna. Secondly, they have a Vidyapit there, where you have been given education and training in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada made a very remarkable statement that if you live in a farm, setup, then you can save time to chant Hare Krishna. We all know in the modern setup where we go to factories or work in the big companies, a lot of energy is taken away in traveling and so many other things where we don't get quality time to chant Hare Krishna and quality time to hear spiritual discourses. So Prabhupada was speaking about the agrarian lifestyle, where this principle of simple living and high thinking can be practiced. Right now, today we can see the most perverted form where human beings simply live and hardly think. They just simply live like animals and they can hardly think also. There's no thinking capacity only. Now Prabhupada says, since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, that is the Bhairanga Shakti, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. One is obliged to work here because he is in the Bhairanga Shakti. Just like a prisoner who is in the prison house, he is forced to do hard labor. Similarly, the conditioned soul who has come in this material world and he's got this subtle and gross bodies, manasashtani indriyani prakritistani karshati. He is obliged to work. And that is karmic reactions by which he gets birth after birth, different bodies. The Supreme Personality God has three primary energies or potencies. The Lord has unlimited energies, and among them, they're the principal three, which is called as the Antaranga Shakti, Bhairanga Shakti, and the Tatastha Shakti, or the internal potency, the external potency, and the marginal potency. The first is called Antaranga Shakti, or the internal potency. The second is called the Tatastha Shakti, or the marginal potency. This is the Jiva Shakti. The third is called the Bhairanga Shakti, or the external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency, and they are situated between the internal and the external. Tata means on the bank. Just like if you are walking on the beach, you are walking on the sand, but sometimes when the ocean water comes, you are walking as good as in the ocean. So the Jiva, being the Tatastha Shakti of the Lord, it can be on the beach sand or it can be in the ocean. So similarly, the marginal potency can be either in the external energy of the Lord or in the internal. It cannot be in between. It has to be under either the shelter of the internal or the external. That is what is the meaning of Tatastha. Being subordinate as eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Jivatmas, or the atomic living entities, must remain under the control of either the internal or the external potency. So I explained this, what Prabhupada is saying. Now, as we had discussed, there is this Shad Dosha, Aktihara, Prayasa, Prajalpa, Niyamagra, Janasanga, and Laulyam. And I mentioned Aktihar leads to Prayas, further Prajalpa, further Niyamagra, Janasanga, and Laulyam. Or Aktihar can directly lead to Laulyam. Aktihar can directly lead to Prayas. Aktihar can directly lead to Prajalpa. Aktihar can lead to Janasanga, like that. Human life is meant for simple living and high thinking. Now, as I was explaining these three energies, why Prabhupada is explaining this first statement, human life is meant for simple living and high thinking, because the Jiva is now caught in the Bhairanga Shakti. And the Jiva has to move from the Bhairanga Shakti to the Antaranga Shakti. And the best formula, somebody had typed the formula of life. So the best formula is to adopt simple living and high thinking. By simple living, high thinking, the Jiva can easily transgress or take this progressive path from the external energy and go to the internal energy. And that is why Prabhupada is, in the first paragraph itself, discussing this. Human life is meant for simple living and high thinking. So now, if you see, the Jiva can be either in the external or in the internal potency. When they are under the control of the internal potency, they display their natural constitutional activity, namely constant engagement in devotional service of the Lord. So this is the constitution of the soul in the spiritual world. They are in the shelter of the Daivi Prakriti, and then they are Bhajanti Ananya Manaso. So why we as conditioned souls cannot 24 hours practice Krishna consciousness? Because we are conditioned. Only the liberated souls, we know Prabhupada is to just sleep for 3 hours. And nobody can try. Apart from the 6 Goswamis, I've never heard about others who slept only 2 or 3 hours. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also had a very tight schedule. He used to sleep at around 11:30 in the night and then get up at 2 o'clock. Because they are liberated souls. They are completely under the internal potency of the Lord. So the external Bhairanga Shakti is not acting upon him. So Bhajante Ananya Manaso, continuous, uninterrupted devotional service. Why we cannot do? Because we are under the control of the external. The external potency is acting as an obstacle for us. But those who are Mahatmas, who are completely under the shelter of the internal potency, they are what? Displaying their natural, continuous, spontaneous activities, that is engagement in devotional service. Now, Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world cooks for Krishna, and she cooks in chula. Chula is, where there is firewood, not in today's gas and cylinders. And you know how many chulas Srimati Radharani continuously is cooking? 100 chulas. And she is running from here to there, completely active in making preparations for Krishna's pleasure. The soul is active in the spiritual world. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtat akarmakrit karyate hi avasha sarve prakritir jair guner. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi, the soul is active by nature. We cannot be inactive. Jatu tishtat akarmakrit, we cannot be without doing any work. In the conditioned state, we are so active. It's like, what is sack racing? You wear a sack, gunny bag, and then you start running. It is difficult to run because, the gunny bag is like an obstacle. You have to literally limp. You have 100 meters gunny bag race. So, because we are embodied souls, we have a gross and subtle body. These gross and subtle bodies are like bags, which are, which act like an obstacle for us to be active in devotional service. But they are active in material engagements. But when the gross and subtle bodies are destroyed completely, when we are completely free from these conditions, we are liberated, then the soul, how much active it is. How much was Prabhupada active at the age of 70? At the age of 70, he began the Hare Krishna movement. And from 70 to 81, practically, his schedule. So, bhajanti ananya manaso, because that is their constitutional activity. Because they are under the complete control of the internal potency of the Lord. Now, in the next paragraph, Prabhupada explains this verse, what Mahatma and Duratma refers to. The word Mahatma refers to those who are broad-minded, not cripple-minded. Cripple-minded persons are engaged in satisfying their senses. Sometimes expand their activities in order to do good for others through some easium, like nationalism, humanitarianism, altruism. They may reject personal sense gratification for the sense gratification of others, like the members of their family, community, or society, either national or international. Actually, all these activities are extended sense gratification from personal to communal to social. These activities may all be very good from a material point of view. Oh, you're such a great philanthropist. You're such a great nationalist. For the cause of the nation, you have sacrificed the family and you're working for the nation. So a family man might sacrifice his family interest in order to take the interest of the nation. So he gives up personal sense gratification, but the interest of the nation, that is a nationalist, also has what? A higher level of sense gratification, which is Prabhupada is calling as extended sense gratification. Oh, there is some problem. The system is getting hanged. I don't know why. It is called as extended sense gratification. All these activities may be very good from a material point of view, but they have no spiritual value. These are not spiritual activities. Opening up hospitals to save people, opening up, philanthropic activities. People might consider these people are spiritual, but it has absolutely no spiritual value. Only when they are connected to the Ishavasya principle and done in a spirit of Ishavasya principle, then they can be devoted in devotional service. Otherwise, without connection of any yoga, then it is completely of no spiritual value. The basis of such activities is sense gratification, either personal or extended. Now Prabhupada explains, after explaining what is Duratma, he explains only when a person gratifies the senses of the Supreme Lord can he be called a Mahatma or a broad-minded person. So the senses have to be engaged for the satisfaction of the master of the senses, that is Krishna. That is the definition of bhakti. Narad Pancharatra explains, Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam, we should be free from all upadis. I am the head of the family. I belong to India. I am a nationalist. I am a humanitarian. I am a philanthropist. So these are upadis belonging to the body. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam, free from that. And what is our upadi? Jivera Swarupai Krishnera Nityadas. Tat paratvena nirmalam. And engaging the pure senses in relationship. Tat paratvena means in relationship with the Lord. How? Rishikena. The senses are engaged. Rishika Isha. Rishika Isha is Lord Krishna, who is called as Rishikesh. And the Rishika means the senses of the individuals are engaged in satisfying the senses of the Lord. So that is the definition of a Mahatma, or that is the definition of pure devotion. So Prabhupada in paragraph 2 clarifies very clearly what is the difference between a Mahatma and a Duratma. In the above quoted verse from the Bhagavad Gita, paragraph 3, the word Daivim Prakritim refers to the control of the internal potency or the pleasure potency. And this pleasure potency is Srimati Radharani or Lakshmi Devi, the personified form, the Ladini Shakti, what we call. When the individual souls are under the control of the internal energy, their only engagement is the satisfaction of Krishna or Vishnu. This is the position of a Mahatma. If one is not a Mahatma, he is a Duratma or a crippled-minded person. Very clear. Either we can be Mahatma or we can be Duratma. If we are not a Mahatma, then definitely we are a Duratma. Such mentally crippled Duratmas are put under the control of the Lord's external potency, that is Mahamaya. Now in the next paragraph, Prabhupada explains what is the situation of the Duratmas. Indeed, all living entities within the material world are under the control of Mahamaya, whose business is to subject them to the influence of the threefold miseries: Adi Daivika Klesha, Adi Bhautika Klesha, and Adhyatmika Klesha. So those who are Duratmas, they are put in the Bhairanga Shakti and they are facing these threefold miseries. Miseries due to afflicted by demigods such like droughts and earthquakes, storms, miseries afflicted by other living entities, and miseries affected by our own body and mind. Daiva Bhutatma Hetava, the conditioned souls subject to these three miseries, subjected to these three miseries by the control of the external energy, suffer various difficulties. So, being under the Bhairanga Shakti, we are put in these three kinds of sufferings. So here in the chart, I have put these threefold miseries which are there. Now, devotees, when they take up to spiritual life, especially Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave the definition of what is tapasya. We saw that when we come under the urges of the speech or the urge of the mind or the urge of the body, then we are afflicted by the external potency. And one who practices restraint or one who resists these demands, he can become free from the victimization of the external potency. And the external potency puts these kleshas upon us also. So as practicing devotees, sometimes we face adhyatmika klesh. The sufferings come to us also as devotees in the form of sufferings of diseases. So that is for us to realize that we are not this body and we are spirit soul. That realization should come for us. Sometimes we are also put in Adi Devika Klesh. The whole COVID crisis is Adi Devika Klesh. And outside people are facing the karmic reactions. The devotees are also taking this opportunity to go deeper in taking shelter of the Lord. So this Adi Devika Klesh is helping us to connect deeper to Krishna. The Adhyatmika Klesh also helps us to realize our real identity, that we are not this body. But there is one Klesh which is very difficult to become free from in the association of devotees, that is Adi Bhautika Klesh. When there is Adhyatmika Klesh, when you yourself are suffering because of some disease or some mental stress, what can you do? You cannot, inflict pain upon yourself. You cannot blame yourself. You cannot blast on yourself. You cannot do anything about it. You have to just tolerate it. When you are facing some Adi Devika Klesh, what can you do about it? Nothing is in your control. But when you face Adi Bhautika Klesh in the association of devotees, mind you, in the association of devotees, sometimes devotees might give you trouble. Sometimes devotees might find faults with you or criticize you. So all these things which happen in the association of devotees, we try to resist them because we think that this is in our control and we try to resist. Whereas for Adi Daivika Klesh and Adhyatmika Klesh, we can't do anything about it. But if we can also tolerate the Adi Bhautika Klesh which comes in the association of the devotees, then we can purify ourselves and become free from these three kleshas and transcend this and be spiritual, be situated on a spiritual platform. So the devotees also face these different kleshas, but they are directly orchestrated by Krishna. But among the three, Adi Bhautika Klesh is very difficult for devotees to transcend. So this is a different angle of understanding, although how the living entities are caught up in Mahamaya has been mentioned. The main problem confronting, the next paragraph, last paragraph I'm taking this. The main problem confronting the conditioned souls is the repetition of birth, old age, disease, and death. In the material world, one has to work for the maintenance of the body and soul. But how can one perform such work in a way that is favorable for execution of Krishna consciousness? So now Prabhupada, after explaining simple living and high thinking and how it is connected to bhakti, the next paragraph onwards, he comes on with the maintenance. Maintenance means we have to maintain ourselves, we have to maintain the body and soul to practice bhakti, but there is this constitutional fault in the more that we should avoid. So that is the background now. Prabhupada has given the background in 4 or 5 paragraphs. After giving that background in 4 paragraphs, he will come to the discussion of Aktihar in this next paragraph. I think I'll discuss this also because that will complete the discussion of the theme, first theme. Everyone requires possessions such as food, grains, clothing, money, and other things necessary for the maintenance of the body, but one should not collect more than necessary for his actual basic needs. Prabhupada is saying actual basic needs and not wants. If this natural principle is followed, there will be no difficulty in maintaining the body. So here, Prabhupada is mentioning possessing. We mentioned about Aktihar means to possess. Instead of possessing Krishna, we want to possess things of this world. That is the root fault. So Prabhupada is here giving a principle, whatever is necessary for our actual basic needs. That if we possess, it is good. And we have to follow this natural principle. From the next paragraph onwards, Prabhupada will start discussing Aktihar and Laulyam, and then Aktihar and Prayas, which I think we will take up in tomorrow's class. So we have now discussed the first theme, that was simple living and high thinking, and the 6 faults, how they are connected. Why Prabhupada is speaking about these 6 faults in this first paragraphs? Because that is connected to Aktihar. If we can do this, then we'll be able to become free from the constitutional fault of Aktihar. That's why Prabhupada is laying the background in these first 5 paragraphs. So any questions or clarifications you have till now what we have discussed about Aktihar, the first 5 paragraphs, what we discussed? Okay, so if there are no questions, then we will stop here. And tomorrow we will discuss each of these constitutional faults, which Prabhupada is discussing in his purpose. Shri Upadesh Amrit ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Hare Krishna. There is one question. Yes, Mohan Rupa Sham Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. No, this is regarding, we have distributed the